Hello, welcome back to LIVENODING. This episode I wanna show you something that feels like a little bit like deja vu. You might have seen this before. So basically, you can see something is animated, and the setup here is basically duplicating that animated uh, objects. So it's creating some kind of trails or copy behind, right? So if I select these objects with the geometry setup, the setup is actually pretty simple. There's actually another cube that is animating. At any time, I can delete all the animations, clean, delete all the keyframes, and now we have nothing. And with this animated cube, I can just turn this on, auto keying, and I can create a drawing, and that thing will actually create copy and instance on the frame, and then it's actually a simulated cache. So I think it's pretty simple but kind of cool effects. You might have seen this a couple of times in different video. So with the animated cube itself, I have the cube animate changing in positions on every frame. I could use noise, but in this case I just use random value and then simply offsetting the position of the vertices on each frame. So that's with the animated cube. But how about the thing that's being the thing that created the trail is this GN geometry node setup. In this case, I'm using simulation zone instead of repeat zone. I don't think repeat zone can do this. It should uh, there should be like some kind of equivalent to repeat to this using repeat zone, but I'm using simulation zone just for simplicity. So inside this uh, geometry, we don't actually use the original geometry itself. I simply drag the animated cube inside here and then turn on the as instance here. I simply join this geometry, and then I create a duplicate elements and just put it inside a loop inside a simulation zone. So this setup just it just works, and all I need to do at the end is just to realize the instances. As you can see, if you are using the assets spreadsheet, if you're using the spreadsheet, if we turn off the realize instances, what's gonna happen, the instance on every frame, an instance will be generated. So I believe I could actually delete the original geometry, because at the first frame you can see it's generating two geometry already, and then it's gonna create more instance as we are animating and moving the geometry. Okay, so that's easy to understand. So with the simulation node, if you are using Blender, latest Blender, I'm using 4.0 beta, soon will be like official. You can actually skip. You can use this skip the simulations processing in this. If I turn this on, for example, I can skip the simulations, and until it reaches this frame, it's gonna start simulating. So it's possible to do this sort of thing. So it will not simulate until it reaches that frame number, and then yeah, it's gonna do the rest. That might be handy. In this case, I'm just gonna turn this off. So it's gonna keep calculating whenever there's a frame changes. And then I have these extra things that I want to share with you also. With the latest Blender's 4.0, there is points to curve. This is really handy. So you can simply use mesh to points and just simply get the vertices and convert it into curve, and then set the spline type into NURBS, so you get a smooth curve, and then just simply extrude it, and then you get this type of result. So yeah, that's pretty cool, right? It's pretty simple as well. So this undulating cube, also something that you can play around with. So this, of course, you can offset it using random value, or just use noise, maybe noise texture. This one you can actually plug in. See that you get this interesting randomness, right? So this is just random doodles. At this point, it's almost like grease pencil. With the latest Blender 4.0, I think you also have geometry nodes that can use grease pencil. It's almost like sphere chalk. Back in the days, I just used sphere chalk, but nowadays we have so many tools. Equivalence in geometry nodes. Oh, okay. The scaling doesn't affect the result somehow. Maybe I plug this both. Yeah. You can also use noise, but yeah, that's basically the points. You can use subdivide surface before this guy, so you're gonna have more points, gonna have more randomness. There you go. See, that's gonna generate a lot of geometry. It's all pretty random, pretty simple to set up. Cut that. And let's save this. You can also just replace this with Suzanne if you want to. Go to edit mode, delete everything, add Suzanne, and yeah, maybe this is too much. Yeah, it's too much for Blender. So anyhow, so that's pretty much what I want to show you. You can really play around with this idea. So it's creating an instance. It's spawning an instance on every frame. In this case, it's this cube that's been subdivided, and then on every frame, it's gonna, for every point, it's gonna connect it. It's not exactly the trails. There's also other tutorial that's dealing with the trailing. Okay, that's seems unhappy about something. I might put another link below. There's another example that's using trails, but I also want to show you this one. Okay, this is could be interesting, maybe something you want. Right, this is not exactly trails, but I'm using repeat zone to create this. So it seems to be generating points, right, for every frame. This one seems slightly complicated. I think I have a single points somewhere. So the original is this plane. Okay, the original is plane, and then I just randomize the plane on every frame, transform the geometry, and I'm using similar setup. I can just turn this off. If I turn this off, it's still generating. It's generating the plane. It's basically a similar setup, but instead of using simulation zone, I'm using repeat zone, and it's actually working in this case. If I merge the vertices at the center, however, as a single point, oh yeah, single point seems to work as well. Okay, so single points, and I just randomize the positions, join the geometry. I have this value that's coming in and goes inside the random seed for the randomness, and then the output is the same. Oh, oh yeah, in this case there's an extra node here. Extra node sampling the index of the points. I actually don't need this. I believe mass to points can do the job, but this is interesting also. Maybe you want to study this one calculates the number of points in the mesh, and then using another points node sample the index position. We don't need all of this. I think you can just skip that. Same result. Yeah, you know, but this is important. Seems a little bit convoluted, but a lot of processing can have the same functions. Yeah, and I just randomize the radius of the curve, so we get this kind of scribbles. In reality, of course, all of this, all you want is to create maybe duplicates, spawn of the objects, of your objects animating. So for that, you just use simulation nodes. That's the easiest. And for the trails, if you split the geometry instance, I think you can get a better trails, and it can be simplified, I think. Anyhow, there's a lot of other example already. I just want to show you this one, and I like it because I can, you know, we can do the same thing using grease pencil, but in this case we can delete everything, just record. You know, I can draw my own logo, snail. I can draw slower. I think it gets slower. So with simulation zone, of course, it's like real time, but also keep in mind it's gonna grow. The data will grow over time, you know, until your Blender is out of RAM. But yeah, it's interesting anyhow. Yep. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Pretty much is what I want to show you today. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.